Do you get the feeling they're writing and releasing the exact same movie for The Rock every year? Also, are you as excited about that as I am? Skyscraper stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a former military guy, tasked now with keeping the world's tallest building safe. He's got his wife, played by Neve Campbell, and their two kids at the building, and oh no, things go horribly wrong. Who'd have thunk it? Well, is this just another Die Hard ripoff, or is there more here for us to love? Well, here's 5 things you might want to know about Skyscraper. Oh boy, I loved this one way more than I expected. I had a blast at Skyscraper. Here's the primary reason, and we all know it. All hail Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is so good in these kind of roles. He really is our modern action star. You know, you harken back to my childhood in the 80s, and you had Schwarzenegger and Stallone and these guys doing this kind of stuff. And who do we have now? You know, maybe Jason Statham, but really as far as like that muscle-bound guy doing the action, it's The Rock. And here's the crazy part. He's actually a good actor. And I don't mean like a decent actor. I mean, he's got skills. We've seen it in other places. We've seen it in his TV show. We've seen it in other movies. And I think it's on display here. Even though the movie itself doesn't need it, he provides it, and it makes the movie even better. The other thing this movie really has working for it is this family. I just fell in love with them. I want to hang out with this family. Neve Campbell's great as this mom. She's kind of former military herself. And so she saves the day several times. The kids are great. They never do anything that feels like, oh, it's beyond what a kid would do. And yet at the same time, they're active in what's going on and feel like a real part of it. The way the kids are used in the tension, I feel is appropriate and wonderful. The dynamic of the family and the way they love each other is really beautiful and interesting. There's a family dynamic in this movie that I think a lot of movies have a real hard time tapping into. This movie does it well, and that was really attractive to me. I also have to say, I loved this building. I loved the technology in this giant structure. The thinking that went into, I was going to say world building, but I guess we'll just go with building. The idea of what it would mean to build a building this tall, the idea of how you would space that out, what you would put there for entertainment purposes, tourist purposes, you know, living purposes, all that kind of stuff was fascinating to me. Some of the security measures. Is some of it just kind of, you know, techno speak? Sure, I get it, but it was all interesting to me. In fact, if this movie gets sequels, fingers crossed, I want the conceit of the sequels to be a new, crazy, amazing building every time. So each sequel focuses on The Rock trying to save his family under some weird story from each of these new incredible buildings. Unfortunately, I think if there's a sequel, we'll be back in this building, but that would be what I want, but Hollywood never listens to me. But the thing that really makes this movie sing and gives it that energy and that reason I had such a good time, it's the pacing. This movie is so well constructed, great architecture, if you will, because you're never left in any moment. You're always on to the next moment. And every moment means something for you as you're trying to figure out how this story is going to unfold. Now, I did go back and watch the trailer after I saw the movie, and unfortunately, some of those reveals are in the trailer, some big ones that really disappointed me. But for me, having not seen the trailer, the movie played so well as thing after thing after thing just kind of kept that momentum going, kept me in my seat, kept me wondering what was going to happen, and even more importantly, kept me from getting distracted by how ridiculous everything really was. And boy, is this movie ridiculous. This is the negative of the film. It could never happen. It's silly. It just didn't branch into the nonsense area that I like to talk about enough for me to be pulled out of it. And like I mentioned, it kept going. But if you get distracted by how over the top, how unbelievable, how unrealistic a lot of this stuff is, I can see that ruining the experience for you. I really can. I feel like I was in a good place. I was ready to see a movie like this. I was excited to see a movie like this, and so I had a good time, but I am fully aware of how silly a lot of this movie was. Overall, though, I still had a blast. I love The Rock. I love him in these kind of movies. And when a movie is made this well, even with some of the ridiculous conceits, I still have a good enough time for me to give it a B+. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the best ever challenge here in a bit. Before we do, though, let's connect further. Hit me up on Twitter, Aaron Dicer, Aarondicer. It's where I do a lot of my movie conversating. So I would love to chat with you there. Feel free to chat in the comments here at YouTube. Hit subscribe, please. In fact, the little alert bell right there next to the subscribe button, click that, and then you'll for sure get a notification every time a new review goes up at Your Movie Friend. So you may want to do that. Subscribe, bell, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. Also, the podcast. We have a blast there. It's called SiftPop, SiftPop. You can check that out. My friend Andrew from Flick Freaks comes over every week, and we talk whatever the latest movie is, all sorts of pop culture stuff. It's a good time. So check that out. Just search for SiftPop, SiftPop. And finally, thank you to Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/YourMovieFriend. Mind-blowing that you actually throw a couple bucks at me every week to keep me doing this. If that's something you'd consider, thank you for even considering it. Go to patreon.com/YourMovieFriend to see all the details and see what the perks are for supporting this channel. All right, on to the best ever challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. Let's go with best ever movies where a building is a central part of it. A building as a character, if it were. Obviously, there are buildings in almost every movie, but something special about the building in this, it kind of plays a role. For me, I'm going to have to go with the one where the building itself almost imitates several movie screens. Yeah, let's go with that. I think that's enough to get you there. Take a guess at mine in the comments. First person to get it right does get that precious Your Movie Friend point. I would love to see your choice there as well. And as always, I'll give you a few extra seconds here to hit subscribe. Just click my face.